Before we get on with the podcast, I'd like to mention that I now have 3 books for sale on Kindle. Recommended Reading for the True Conservative, Bad Democrat, and now Evil Liberal. All available for $3.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. Now, on with the podcast.
habe letztens ein Mädel kennengelernt, gequatscht, ne? Und dann habe ich immer gefragt, wie ist denn der Altersunterschied zwischen dir und deinem Partner? Ne? Und dann meinte sie, meinst du jetzt oder als wir uns kennengelernt haben? Ja, da war ich nicht drauf vorbereitet. Da habe ich gesagt, machen wir Durchschnitt. Ja. Da war sie auch nicht drauf vorbereitet. Sie hat mich genauso dumm angeguckt wie ich sie. Und dann meinte sie, ich kann gar nicht durch ungerade Zahlen teilen. Und dann war ich wieder dran. Dann haben wir uns auf Unentschieden geeinigt.
Good morning. It's Thursday, Psycho Thursday, July the 9th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company and Psychopathy. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now, Varney and Company.
This morning, Varney and Company picks it up now. Ashley Webster in for Stu this morning. Ashley, take it away.
Hey, thank you. Good morning, Maria, and good morning, everyone. I am Ashley Webster in for Stuart Varney today. Okay, let's get right to it. Overnight, the U.S. military launching strikes on approximately 90 targets inside Iran in the latest operation. President Trump says Iran wants to make a deal, but the Iranians still are defiant, saying that the Strait of Hormuz will only open with Iranian arrangements, not American threats. Let's take a look at the price of oil right around $73 and certainly been spiking on the news out of Iran, $73.89 a barrel. Let's take a look at the markets. The futures showing positive across the board. The Dow essentially flat, the S&P up 0.25%, the Nasdaq up nearly 1%, getting a boost from the chip stocks at this stage. Okay, looking ahead on the show today, Graham Plattner dropping out of Maine's Senate race while still denying the allegations made against him. Democrats now scrambling to select a new nominee, but is it too little too late for the party? Plus, new polling finds support for capitalism has declined over the past decade. And is that helping fuel the growing interest in socialism? We'll talk about it. Also ahead, an explosive report alleging $225 million in K-12 education fraud. Education Secretary Linda McMahon will be joining us to discuss those findings and the administration's response. It is Thursday, July the 9th. Varney and Company
is about to begin, except without Varney, Mr. Assman sitting in. Nonprofit News Now. Back in a minute. Thank you. You know, there's something profoundly unsettling and yet liberating about waking up to the reality that you've been manipulated, that you've been used, not respected, admired perhaps, but only insofar as you serve a purpose in someone else's narrative. And it's strange because we don't like to think of ourselves as victims, especially the conservative. That deeply feeling, deeply caring soul who always assumes the best in others, who offers grace when judgment is deserved, who stays far longer than they should. Empathy is a virtue, no doubt. It allows us to understand one another, to reach across the divide of individuality, and resonate with the pain and struggle of another human being. It is the foundation of compassion, of forgiveness, and respect. But what happens when empathy is weaponized? What happens when a person who cannot or will not reciprocate that empathy encounters someone who cannot stop giving it? That's where things become dangerous. That's where empathy, ungoverned by discernment and boundaries, becomes a breeding ground for tyranny. It begins suddenly. The conservative feels the unspoken hurt in others and responds intuitively. A gesture of comfort here, a silence maintained there, often at the expense of truth. They believe, often unconsciously, that by softening their own edges, they can reduce the suffering of those around them. And in ordinary relationships, that tendency can create harmony. But the bad Democrat doesn't operate that way. They don't reciprocate, they exploit. And the conservative, precisely because of their high sensitivity to the emotions of others, becomes the perfect host. The bad Democrat identifies compassion as a resource, not as a gift to be treasured, but as a tool to be used. They test the limits of the conservatives' compassion and forgiveness. They engineer guilt-provoking anxiety and create cycles of emotional turmoil, not always through overt cruelty, but more often through subtle manipulation, the withholding of affection, the sowing of confusion, the reframing of reality. And the conservative, rather than pulling away, leans in. They try harder, they rationalize, they self-sacrifice. Why? Because deep down, the conservative assumes responsibility. That's their moral compass. If someone is angry, they must have failed to soothe them. If someone is distant, they must have said something wrong. The bad Democrat exploits that compass like a puppeteer pulling strings. They teach the conservative to abandon truth for the sake of peace. But it is never real peace, only the absence of conflict in exchange for the presence of control. And this is where the tyranny takes root, because the conservative, who once had a sense of self, gradually becomes disoriented. They begin to question their own intuition, their perceptions, even their memories. They live in a constant state of second-guessing, and because they see pain in the bad Democrat, often a very real pain, albeit one masked behind aggression or charm, they stay. They believe that if they can just understand more, absorb more, they can heal what is broken. But you cannot heal someone who's committed to using your healing energy as leverage. You cannot negotiate with someone who only sees your empathy as currency. And empathy without boundaries, empathy that does not include responsibility to the self, becomes self-betrayal. It enables a bad Democrat to continue a pattern that is fundamentally parasitic. There's a brutal irony here. The conservative believes that they're helping. They believe they're being noble, righteous even. But in refusing to set limits, in refusing to demand accountability, they are actually complicit in the bad Democrats' perpetration. They reinforce the very delusions that destroy the possibility of authentic connection. That's the terrible paradox. The more empathy the conservative gives, the more power they hand over to the bad Democrat, and the less of themselves remains intact. And the bad Democrat, they become emboldened. Each time the conservative forgives without consequence or accepts blame that isn't theirs. Silence is their own pain to protect the bad Democrat's ego. The bad Democrat is validated. They learned that the world should revolve around them. They believe their grandiosity is justified. Their manipulation is clever. Their cruelty is deserved. The conservative's empathy becomes the soil in which bad Democrat entitlement grows unchecked. At its worst, this dynamic becomes a psychological prison. The conservative internalizes the belief that they must continue. Back in a minute. Thank you. A little clip from the President of the United States during a press conference and a little bit of commentary.
This.
Why are you apparently unable to end the Iran war?
So I think we're doing just the opposite. The Iran war has been a tremendous military success. And, I can only answer the question by saying they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. If I weren't president, Israel wouldn't exist. We did it 2 times. When the JCPOA, the Obama deal, when that was originally conceived, everything went to Iran. $1.7 billion in cash, hundreds of billions of dollars. They thought they could buy peace with these people. You can't do that.
Okay, so the way he should have answered it is, why do you assume that I can't do this? Why do you assume that it hasn't ended already? That's what he should have done. Any other answer concedes the questioner's point. The president is still treating the media as though they are acting in good faith. They're not. None of them. And they haven't been for decades. And he needs to get that through his head. The sooner, the better. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, motivation.
None of us wake up and say, today is the day I destroy my life. What we do is we make these teeny tiny decisions all day long. We don't even realize it. Decision to not get up on time, a decision to not eat the right thing, a decision to not look for a job, a decision to not deal with your finances, like whatever it is. All day long, these tiny decisions that take you so far off track. And then you wake up like I did and you look at your life and you think, how the hell did I get here? And you have no idea.
Right now, we have the most valuable asset on earth on our side, time. but it's running out.
I don't know what dream you have, but I can guarantee you that there's somebody in the hospital right now praying, begging God to have the opportunity that you have right now. Don't blow it. It is time to go from mediocre to meteoric. It is time to go from being counted out to being counted on. An hour lost today is an hour lost forever. In life, there's no timeout. You can't raise your hand and stop the clock. It doesn't happen. So instead, I recommend you learn how to flip that switch when you face something that is overwhelming or challenging. You flip that switch that says, go time. You know what separates the winners from the losers in this world? The difference is that winners are honest with themselves about the effort that they put in. They don't blame anything but themselves when they don't get the result they're after. Instead, they recognize their own lack of effort, they take responsibility for it, and they fix the fucking issue. So if you're not finding that motivation that you want, forget about it. Instead, impose some daily discipline in your life and start today. Lazy people do a little work and think they should be winning, but winners work as hard as possible and still worry if they're being lazy. So if you're a winner, you ain't comfortable. Every day I get up and give everything I got to everything I'm a part of simply because this is who I am. Like the only thing I need every day of my life is 86,400 seconds. That's it. Like I don't need some reward. Like the only thing I need is breath in my body, and I'm gonna flat out go and get it. You're not in here to get an achievement. You need to pay your fucking dues, so later in life you never wonder what if. We just erase that out of the equation. We're putting the work in now, so we never wonder what if. Not run by the clock. Run by our desire where we want to go tomorrow. Because the more energy you give, the more that life can express through you, can create through you. We don't know when God's going to take us out of here, so every day's got to be the best day. Every day we got to go get it. Every day we got to work out. This could be the last day, and because it could be the last day, we can't live it like we used to live it. Too many of you in this room, you act like you're going to be 200, 300. You are running out of time. Act like it. You don't have forever. Stop acting like it. That's the way life is. You don't have enough time. You got to make time. God told me to tell you, don't pray no more. You don't need to pray. I gave you life. It's precious. You the one playing with it. You the one taking it for granted. You getting up late. You got an attitude. You don't feel it. I gave you breath. Use it. Get there early, man. You got all this stuff you want to do and you never say you got enough time. But get there early. No one's there. No one's doing anything in the morning. Only you can hold yourself back from getting what you want. Not your parents, not your teachers, not your circumstances. You are in control. Every single day is a win or a loss. Did you do what you needed to do today? Because that's all that matters. You can train yourself. You can condition yourself that this is my moment. This is my time. This is my Super Bowl. There will be no commercial breaks. This is my stuff. You're going to determine the outcome of your life. You're going to determine whether or not your life is exciting or whether or not it's boring. You determine that. And those people who know that, they move with a sense of urgency. They move with purpose and direction. They work and they manage their time effectively. All we have here, all we have, blood, sweat, tears, bled. Keep it all here for that better life. That dream that we had inside that we want to create a reality starts right here. When you come in here and you get it all in your head and you leave, shoot, it's throwing up, it's sweat, and you're done, you're exhausted. That's the 9 yards. That's the history that actually growth out there. So making every dream a reality for you.
And that was motivating. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, meditation. And that was a little meditation, 136.1 hertz. Back in a minute. Thank you. So this is going to be a clip of Nigel Farage doing it wrong. He's a politician for the Reform Party or Conservative Party or something in England. Here, listen.
Why not just apologise, accept you should have declared this money, and move on? Why not?
I wasn't in politics, had nothing to do with anybody else whatsoever.
But it would have saved you a huge amount of grief, and as time's gone on, more stories have come out. It's made you look worse and worse. What else is there still to come out? Is it still going to get worse?
Oh, maybe. I mean, it would have seemed that every single private detail of my life has been accessed illegally and is being put into the public domain. I think it's unfair. Even my family are being harassed. My daughter's being harassed by people. I think the whole thing is monstrous. If, and I say if, because it's up to people, if we get a resounding big vote and victory here, it sticks two fingers up to the establishment.
Okay, so you cannot act in good faith with people that are not acting in good faith, that are acting in bad faith. What we have here is an ambush interview in which the interviewer is acting in bad faith. He doesn't want to get Mr. Farage to answer questions. He wants to punish Mr. Farage. He wants to make Mr. Farage look bad. Most of what he was doing was making statements. You did this, you did that, so, and then he'll ask a little question at the end to make it seem as though he's actually conducting some sort of an interview, when in reality, all he's doing is again, punishing Mr. Farage. What Mr. Farage should have done was turn it around on him and ask questions. When the guy says, why don't you just apologize and blah, 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 then you can simply say, why should we do things your way? Why should everyone do things your way? Who died and left you in charge? Now, the response will probably come back, hey, I'm just asking a question, in which case you say, no, you're not. You're making a statement under the guise of asking a question. So I ask you again, who died and left you in charge? Why should we do things your way? And what you want to do is always turn it around and keep asking them the questions. Put them on the spot. Make them the issue. Put them on the defensive. Because otherwise you sound like you've got something to hide. And you don't want that. Back in a minute. Thank you. I heard a commercial from lawyers that are looking to get clients for a class action lawsuit to sue social media. And make no mistake about it, I know exactly what that's all about. It has nothing to do with children. It has nothing to do with their mental health. It has everything to do with politics. The Democrat Party, I'm sure the ACLU, the SPLC, and other organizations are angry at social media because they went and, as CNN put it, kissed the ring of President Donald Trump. And so they're furious about it. And this is revenge. They want revenge. Well, I hope it fails. I hope that nobody signs up for it and that the situation fails and all the lawyers involved end up going broke. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, psychopathy.
Every day, people try to change your mind without you even noticing. They tell you what to buy, what to believe, who to trust, and even how to see yourself. The frightening part is not that influence exists. The frightening part is how invisible it has become. Most people think persuasion is loud. Real persuasion is silent. Machiavelli understood that the greatest strategist rarely forces anyone to obey. Instead, he creates conditions where people willingly choose the path he wanted from the beginning. They believe they are acting freely while quietly following a direction someone else designed. That is the hidden power of reverse psychology. This is not about manipulation for personal gain. It is about recognizing the psychological patterns used against you every single day. so you stop becoming an easy target. In this video, you will discover 12 Machiavellian laws that reveal why people chase what disappears, defend ideas that were never theirs, and fight to prove someone wrong without realizing they have already lost control of the game. Each law becomes more powerful than the last. And the final law explains why the most dangerous form of influence requires no clever words at all. Once you recognize these patterns, ordinary conversations will never feel ordinary again. Law 1: the forbidden choice. Why people want what you stop offering. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly want something after you stop offering it? The moment availability disappears, curiosity wakes. Most people panic here. They offer more attention, more explanations, more access, hoping desire returns. Instead, value collapses, because pursuit removes mystery. Machiavelli recognized that resistance grows whenever people feel controlled, but desire grows whenever choice feels threatened. The forbidden option becomes psychologically valuable, because the mind hates losing possibilities. Take something away carefully, and attention often follows it. Imagine declining an invitation without excuses. You remain calm, respectful, unavailable. Suddenly the same person begins asking why. They become invested because certainty vanished. They are no longer chasing you, they are chasing the missing answer. This principle is not manipulation, it is disciplined restraint. Stop rewarding every demand with immediate access. Let people experience limits. Let absence create perspective. Those who genuinely value you will step forward. Those who wanted convenience will disappear. Reverse psychology begins where pressure ends. The less you force, the more freely others move. Control yourself first. Curiosity will handle the rest. That is the forbidden choice. It transforms chasing into attraction without begging or pretending. Master this law, and every future principle becomes stronger, because desire always follows what quietly escapes those who chase relentlessly. Law 2: the silent refusal. Make them convince you instead. A decision loses power the moment you begin defending it. Quiet refusal changes the entire negotiation before a single argument begins. People expect resistance. They prepare answers. They rehearse persuasion. What unsettles them is calm certainty. When you decline without frustration or apology, the conversation reverses. Suddenly they start explaining why you should reconsider. They become the ones chasing approval instead. Power shifts when effort changes direction. Machiavelli observed that whoever seeks validation first quietly surrenders leverage. The person who remains composed forces others to invest emotionally. Every explanation they offer increases their commitment to winning your agreement. Picture a client offering terms you know are weak. Rather than arguing, you simply say, "That won't work for me." Nothing more. Hours later, they return with improved conditions, because silence created uncertainty. Your refusal became the pressure, not your words. Practice disciplined restraint. Decline respectfully. Never rush to justify every decision. Confidence does not require lengthy explanations. It requires consistency. When people realize they must earn your agreement, their mindset changes. They stop evaluating your value and start proving theirs. That is reverse psychology at its sharpest. The quieter your refusal, the stronger your position becomes. Influence grows when others persuade themselves, not when you persuade them. Master this law completely. Subscribe, then comment reverse if you're starting to see the hidden game. Law 3: the ego trigger. Let their pride become your weapon. People will ignore advice. They will reject instructions. They will argue against logic, but question their ability, and everything changes. Reverse psychology becomes powerful the moment pride enters the conversation. Human beings protect their self-image more fiercely than they protect the truth. Once their identity feels challenged, they begin acting to defend it, often without realizing someone else created the trigger. A confident strategist never argues endlessly. Machiavelli saw that direct pressure creates resistance, while wounded pride creates self-motivation. The harder someone tries proving themselves, the less effort you need to spend pushing them forward. Consider a simple situation. Someone claims they can handle enormous responsibility, but keeps avoiding difficult work. Instead of demanding action, you calmly suggest the challenge may require someone with greater discipline. The atmosphere changes immediately. Their attention shifts from resisting you to defending themselves. Now their own pride becomes the driving force. That is the hidden reversal. Your objective is not humiliation, it is activation. Leave enough doubt for their ego to respond naturally, but never enough to create resentment. The difference is subtle, yet critical. One inspires action, the other destroys trust. Used carefully, this principle transforms resistance into momentum, because people become determined to prove something to themselves as much as to you. The strongest influence never forces movement. It awakens the desire already waiting inside the other person. Law 4. The controlled withdrawal. Why absence creates obsession. Presence feels normal. Absence forces attention. That is why countless people destroy their own influence without realizing it. They answer instantly. They remain constantly available. They remove every opportunity for anticipation. Over time, familiarity replaces appreciation, and people stop noticing what is always there. Reverse psychology works differently. Instead of increasing your presence, you reduce it with purpose. Machiavelli knew that people rarely measure value while they possess something freely. They measure it only after access becomes uncertain. The mind naturally focuses on what has disappeared because unanswered questions demand psychological closure. Think about someone who suddenly stops pursuing a conversation after always carrying it before. No anger, no dramatic goodbye, just quiet distance. The other person begins wondering what changed. Curiosity replaces certainty. Certainty is comfortable. Curiosity is unforgettable. This principle is not about playing childish games. It is about protecting your availability. Do not confuse constant access with genuine connection. Give people room to experience your absence. Let silence create contrast. Let missing your presence reveal the value they overlooked while it was always available. Used with discipline, controlled withdrawal shifts emotional investment without unnecessary conflict. People appreciate what they must occasionally live without. That appreciation rarely appears while everything remains permanently within reach. Sometimes the strongest message contains no words. It is simply the space you choose to leave behind. Law 5, the illusion of control. Make them believe it was their decision. Nobody likes feeling controlled. The moment people sense pressure, they instinctively defend their freedom. They reject advice, question motives, and resist suggestions that they might have accepted under different circumstances. The battle is rarely against your idea. It is against the feeling of being pushed. That is where reverse psychology changes the game. Machiavelli saw that hidden influence is stronger than visible force. People trust conclusions they believe they reached themselves. Once an idea feels self-created, they defend it without realizing someone quietly guided the path. Picture a leader facing a stubborn team. Instead of presenting the answer, they ask a series of simple questions. One by one, the group connects the pieces until someone proudly announces the solution. Everyone supports it, because ownership now belongs to them. Nothing changed except perception. Guide the direction. Never force the destination. Ask thoughtful questions instead of delivering commands. Let curiosity replace resistance. When people discover an answer themselves, commitment becomes stronger than obedience ever could. The highest level of influence never feels like influence. It feels like personal choice. And that is exactly why it works. Like this video and comment choice if this principle changed how you see influence. Law 6, the reverse challenge. Doubt them until they prove you wrong. Encouragement motivates some people. Doubt motivates many more. Human nature reacts strangely when someone quietly questions its capability. A direct order invites resistance, but a carefully placed doubt often awakens determination. The desire to prove another person wrong becomes stronger than the desire to avoid the task itself. That is why this principle works. Machiavelli recognized that pride responds faster than persuasion. Once someone's competence feels uncertain, their attention shifts immediately. They stop arguing with you and begin arguing with the possibility of failure. Their own ambition takes control of the situation. Consider a talented employee avoiding a demanding project. Instead of insisting they accept it, you calmly remark that the challenge may require someone with greater discipline. Suddenly, hesitation disappears. They volunteer because walking away now feels like admitting weakness. The challenge did the work, not the pressure. Use this carefully. Questionability without insulting character. Create just enough uncertainty to spark action, never enough to create resentment. The objective is inspiration through pride, not humiliation through criticism. Reverse psychology succeeds when people become determined by their own emotions instead of your commands. The strongest push is often the one you never make, because once someone decides to prove you wrong, they stop needing your persuasion altogether. Law 7, the scarcity frame. Remove access, increase desire. Unlimited access destroys appreciation. The easier something becomes to obtain, the less attention people give it. Familiarity slowly replaces curiosity until your presence feels ordinary instead of valuable. Most people respond by offering even more time, more attention, and more availability, unknowingly making the problem worse. Reverse psychology works in the opposite direction. Machiavelli knew that scarcity changes perception before reality changes. When access becomes limited, the mind immediately begins assigning greater importance to what is no longer guaranteed. People notice absence far faster than constant presence because uncertainty captures attention. Picture a mentor who always replies within minutes. One day the responses become thoughtful, but less frequent. Nothing hostile happens. Nothing dramatic changes. Yet the student begins valuing every message more, because each one now feels earned instead of expected. That is psychological scarcity. Protect your availability. Let your attention become intentional instead of automatic. Not everyone deserves immediate access to your time, energy, or focus. The people who truly value you will respect your boundaries instead of demanding unlimited availability. Scarcity is never about pretending to be important. It is about treating your own time as important first. When access becomes selective, appreciation grows naturally. The rarest presence always leaves the strongest impression. That is why people chase what they cannot constantly reach. Law 8, the strategic agreement. Agree first, then redirect their mind. Arguments rarely change opinions. In most conversations, the moment you say you're wrong, the other person stops listening. Their goal shifts from discovering the truth to defending their position. Every sentence becomes a shield instead of a bridge. Reverse psychology takes another route. Machiavelli understood that resistance weakens when people feel understood first. Agreement lowers defenses because it removes the expectation of conflict. Once tension disappears, the mind becomes far more willing to consider a different direction. Picture a negotiation where someone insists on an unrealistic demand. Instead of rejecting it immediately, you acknowledge the reasoning behind it. They relax because they feel heard. Only then do you introduce a small alternative that naturally leads toward your preferred outcome. Step by step, they begin adjusting their own position without feeling defeated. That is strategic agreement. You are not surrendering. You are creating an opening. Accept what deserves agreement, then gently redirect the conversation instead of attacking it head-on. People resist pressure, but often follow guidance that respects their perspective. A calm redirection accomplishes more than 10 heated arguments ever will. The smartest strategist wins without creating unnecessary enemies. Agreement lowers the walls. Direction changes the path. That is how influence quietly replaces confrontation. Law 9, the curiosity hook. Reveal less. Make them chase more. Curiosity survives where certainty ends. The moment you explain everything, the mystery disappears. Questions fade. Interest weakens. People stop investing mentally because every answer has already been handed to them. An open loop always holds attention longer than a finished story. This is where reverse psychology quietly gains its advantage. Machiavelli saw that information becomes more valuable when it is controlled instead of constantly distributed. A person who reveals every intention becomes predictable. A person who leaves thoughtful gaps invites others to fill them with their own imagination. Consider someone announcing a major decision but refusing to explain every detail immediately. They remain calm, offer only what is necessary, and move on. Suddenly, everyone wants to know more. The conversation continues long after they have left, because unanswered questions keep working inside other people's minds. That is the power of restraint. Reveal enough to create interest. Hide enough to sustain it. There is no need to manufacture mystery or play childish games. Simply stop feeling obligated to explain every choice, every goal, or every thought the moment it appears. Confidence allows silence to carry part of the message. The strongest influence often comes from what remains unsaid. Curiosity keeps people moving. Over-explanation brings the pursuit to an end. Master this principle, and people will begin seeking the answers you never offered freely. Law 10, the mirror principle. Let people persuade themselves. The strongest argument is the one you never make. People naturally trust conclusions they reach through their own thinking. The instant you begin forcing opinions, resistance appears. Yet when someone arrives at the same conclusion alone, they defend it with surprising confidence, because the idea now feels personal. Machiavelli recognized that influence becomes invisible when another person believes they discovered the answer first. Instead of filling every silence with explanations, ask questions that encourage reflection. A thoughtful question often changes a mind more effectively than a confident statement. Picture two friends discussing a risky decision. One lectures for 10 minutes and gets ignored. The other simply asks, "What happens if this goes wrong?" The conversation pauses. Moments later, the first friend starts identifying the risks independently. No argument occurred, yet the outcome completely changed. That is the mirror principle. Do not rush to provide every answer. Create the space where answers appear naturally. People defend self-discovered ideas far more passionately than borrowed opinions. When reflection replaces pressure, persuasion becomes almost effortless, because the mind begins convincing itself. The greatest victory belongs to the person who never needed to win the argument at all. Law 11, the emotional vacuum. Withdraw the reaction they expected. Manipulators survive on predictable reactions. They provoke, they criticize, they insult, not because the words matter, but because your emotional response gives them control. The instant you react exactly as expected, they know where your attention, weakness, and energy are invested. Reverse psychology breaks that pattern completely. Machiavelli believed that revealing emotion at the wrong moment hands valuable information to the other side. A person expecting anger becomes confused by composure. Someone waiting for an argument struggles when silence arrives instead. Their strategy begins collapsing because the reaction they depended on never appears. Picture a coworker making a sarcastic remark during a meeting, hoping you'll defend yourself. Instead, you acknowledge it with a calm smile and continue speaking without changing your tone. The room shifts. Their attempt to control the atmosphere quietly fails because your response refused to feed it. That is emotional withdrawal. Do not reward provocation. Do not rush to defend every insult. The less emotional fuel you provide, the faster manipulative behavior loses momentum. People repeat actions that produce results. Remove the reward, and many games end naturally. Silence can expose weakness more effectively than confrontation. The greatest victory is denying your opponent the reaction they carefully plan to receive. That is where real psychological control begins. Law 12, the Machiavelli law. The most powerful reverse psychology happens without words. Words persuade. Behavior convinces. That is the final lesson. Most people believe influence comes from saying the perfect sentence. They search for clever phrases, stronger arguments, and flawless responses. Yet the greatest psychological influence rarely depends on language. It comes from what people observe when nothing is being explained. Machiavelli knew actions shape belief more deeply than promises ever could. Quiet confidence, controlled restraint, unwavering discipline, and deliberate silence communicate authority long before a conversation begins. People instinctively read behavior because behavior is harder to fake than speech. Picture someone entering a room without demanding attention. They remain composed. They never interrupt. They never chase approval. They never explain their value. Yet people gradually adjust around them because certainty speaks louder than performance. That is silent influence. Live your standards. Protect your boundaries. Control your emotions. Let consistency become your reputation instead of constantly announcing your intentions. When your actions remain aligned over time, people begin trusting what they repeatedly witness rather than what they occasionally hear. This is the highest form of reverse psychology. You stop trying to control minds. You control yourself. Ironically, that discipline influences others more than manipulation ever could. The loudest person captures attention. The quietest strategist shapes decisions. That is Machiavelli's final law. The greatest psychological victory is achieved before a single word is ever spoken. The greatest mistake is believing reverse psychology is about controlling others. It isn't. It is about understanding human nature, so you stop becoming easy to manipulate. Once you recognize these 12 laws, you'll notice them everywhere in conversations, relationships, business, and everyday life.
And that was Psychopathy. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.